Right, so I'm just going to go back and revisit a video I done 5 months ago. And it was one of my first videos, so I wasn't really comfy on the mic, speaking in the microphone, so I'm just going to go over it again and give an explanation to what I'm doing rather than just a long video of nothing. We're doing the opposite one from that. I just didn't get it in the video. Right, now, so I'm just going to basically be marking this out. I'm going to mark, I think it was 20mm down from the surface, from the top here. And we're going to mark that all the way around, and from that line, which is going to now be our building line, 20mm down from the top of this stone. And then the splay, or the chamfer, a stonemason in Scotland calls a chamfer, he calls that a splay. So this diagonal line that runs back up to get us back into the building line is called a splay. We are basically going to need to cut this with a grinder, cut the flat surface with a grinder, and then we're going to pinch all the way around the surface, all the way around the building line to get what we call a rock face or a rubble face. Now, if you're into Masonic tradition, and you're into funny handshakes, etc., etc., in Scotland, if you are a stonemason, you will call random stonework rubble, not rubble, rubble. If you're a bricklayer, plasterer, or anything like that, joiner, you will probably call it rubble. But if you're a stonemason, it will be called rubble. That is pretty much how we can differentiate whether or not someone is actually a qualified stonemason, or if they're just pretending. They've done a bit of building. There's a lot of people in Scotland say they're stonemasons, but all they can do is really build. So they're actually builders and not stonemasons. They're stone builders. So I've just showed you there, when you scribe a line, you're going to have like a sort of indentation, a V-shaped indentation. Make sure that after you've sharpened your pencil, you rub it flat like a screwdriver head, and that way, like this, and you can fit inside your line, and you shouldn't deviate from your line. So we take the check out from here to leave us this flat surface so we can get the splay. Now I use a 110 Makita grinder. It's supposed to be a 32 amp cable, but I've changed it to a 16 amp cable because the 32 amp cables are massive, so I've changed it over. I've taken the guard off and I just put the handle on, kind of back to front. A stonemason will usually put their handles on back to front so that the dust fires away from you. And you just have to sort of be careful, be wary that when this bounces, if it bounces and kicks, you understand where this blade is going to go at all times. Making sure you're checking all the time so you're not going low. The amount of people that I see just blasted on and no checking. So when you put a grinder cut in here, you want to just kind of trace your line first and then go in deeper, and I'll go probably a millimetre to maybe half a millimetre above my line probably, and as long as it's square and true, you shouldn't have a problem when it actually comes down to your actual line. This whole face here is going to come off. It's always good to practice, even if you're going to there's going to be a cut that you're going to do that's not going to be seen. Just make sure the cut is bang on, and that way everything else that comes off of that cut should be bang on after that. And like, I go back to my earlier videos when I say, like, just finish that piece and make sure that bit is bang on. Make sure that bit is right first, and then everything else should be right after that. And now I'm just going to run a cut along so that when I basically when I knock this off, you're just going to get a nice square bit knocked off, and it's a bit better when it comes away. You'll see when I knock it off. This one is back into about the depth of my grinder blade, and when you knock it off, it comes off square. It's just better. There you go. And then I'm just going to plunge this on and finish this off. Okay, right, now, so basically, now when I come off here to finish this off completely, that 1mm that I should have been slightly above my line, I should then come down, even though the front, probably 70% of the portion is coming off, this is right. And it should be right all the way through, so that when we come to cut this off, that line at the top and that check at the top will be right. And then we're going to take all this stuff off on the side and make a sort of rock face on the top. And first of all, we'll take the splay off. You can attack this with chisels. You can attack this loads of different ways. I've seen loads of different stonemasons do it, loads of different ways. This is the quickest. I just go into my line, effectively. I just go like a mil above my line, and I try and get the full splay off in one fell swoop. Sorry. And it's actually quite satisfying when it just comes off there. You can see there that it's kind of off a wee bit, it's twisted. It looks up maybe high at the back there. I'm just going to take it off. And just take it off, and you should end up, see this line, this pencil line. My lecturer always told me, my college lecturer always told me that pencil line and that scribe line that you have made should be cut in half, basically. You should have half a pencil line, no more, which basically gives you nothing. And it doesn't even give you a cigarette paper to work with. So there you go, that's how right you've got to be, just there. So at college you got less than a millimetre tolerance either side. I'm going to say that's well within the park. Now I'm just going to nip this off with the grinder. You see here how I'm stopping, I'm going to trigger the grinder on and off, and then I'm just going to cut this. This is all coming away, you're going to see it's going to come away at some point. So I'm just going to take this away and just get it as square as possible, and I'm going to hit it with the chisel soon as well. But I'm going to take as much as I can off with the grinder and get it as flat and as close in as I can. And theoretically I shouldn't even have to touch it with the chisel, but I think I've probably put some chiseling in here just to show how it's done, basically. Right, chisel skills now, let's get into it. So I like to come in at a sort of angle. If you come in at the angle, you shouldn't chip the edges, basically, so you should have a sort of rhythmic, a rhythm, how you're going to strike the chisel, because you need to just get in and kind of get in the zone when you're doing these sort of things, because it gets quite monotonous and you have to just switch off. So get working to a wee rhythm when you're cutting or carving like this. Put some music on. It's brilliant. There we go again. Get your pencil into that V shape and it will not slip out of your nice deep lines. So just the same as with the grinder, we're just going to come just above the line and we're just going to ping this off. We're just going to nap it off, basically, and we're going to try and take as much as we can off without making a dip. Now it's pretty difficult to manage to get this to have no chisel marks, and this is what you're effectively trying to achieve, is trying to lift this whole face from where that line is completely off without then having to restrike it with a chisel. I'll probably get some comments on the fact that I'm using a bolster here and I'm a stonemason and I should be using a pincher, but I've no fucking got one, so fucking rinse yourselves, you cunts. So With the fact that I've only came down 25 or 30 mil, I think, that's pretty much unattainable. We're then going to have to dress a surface on top of this with an actual cold chisel, because if you can see on the top, we're now going to have like a smooth face, a polished face, and we do not want that because it is a rock face or a rubble face. So, yeah. Anyway, moving on. So, now we're just going to come along there with a 2-inch, and we're just going to come down to the line here. Look at that wee bit I'm off there on that pencil line. So rough. We're just essentially just tidying this up a wee bit, and just before we go over the top of it with the chisel to just match it in properly. And to be honest, when this got built, it matched in absolutely perfect. And I don't very often walk away from a job believing that I've done a decent job, but when I built this, when Greg and I built it, I genuinely thought it was a good job. So there we go. So the ultimate goal here, like I keep saying, is to have this complete surface with basically like a rock face or a rough face and no chisel marks. So the best way to achieve this is to kind of work back on yourself. And if you work back on yourself, you should actually basically punch your old chisel marks out, and then you should end up with just basically one kind of piece at the end. That didn't happen, to be honest. I wasn't that chuffed about that part, but I managed to get it half decent. Like I said, I get happy and sad about jobs. Sometimes I feel alright, and then sometimes I feel shite. Like the guy, it says, I love being bipolar, it's shit. Sometimes I may be good, sometimes I may be shit. But anyway, now if you're one of the 100 people that's actually watched this original video, could you let me know and let me understand whether or not my narration helped. And I'm thinking about doing this with some other older videos, so I hope this does alright. So again, I'm going to kind of beg again, and I hate fucking doing this, but please like and subscribe. It just helps other people see my videos, and it will probably help them just pop up on your newsfeed again. If you've not already liked and subscribed, because I know there's a few thousand of you that actually keep returning and watching my videos. If you want to see them again, like and subscribe. Bye bye. Oh, and this bit here, I'm just going to rub this down basically to get extra chisel marks out. I'm just going to rub a bit of sandstone over it. If you've ever got any marks or that on sandstone that you need to get out that you're not that happy with, just rub another bit of sandstone over it and you will probably get the marks out. Ideal. Bye bye.